The following story is a composite of real fraud cases. Names, locations, and legal details have been fictionalized. A white carnation boutonniere hit the reception floor at 6:47 p.m. Claire Harker stood frozen, champagne flute halfway to her lips, staring at a man who had been dead for 7 years. Go back to March 2009. Claire Harker, 38 years old, lived in a 4-bedroom house in a suburb outside Chicago, Illinois. Her husband was Thomas Harker, a residential contractor who ran a one-man LLC called Harker Build Group. The company had been active since 2001. She managed the household accounts. He managed the business. That was the arrangement, and for 9 years it held. Thomas brought home between $84,000 and $97,000 annually, depending on the season. Claire taught 3rd grade at Jefferson Elementary. Their son, Evan, was 17 and playing varsity soccer. Their daughter, Petra, was 12. On the refrigerator there was a printed calendar. Every Tuesday in March was circled in red marker. Thomas's site inspection days, Claire had always assumed. She had no reason to open the business account. Thomas handled that. He had always handled that. In October 2009, a certified letter arrived from Lakeshore Savings addressed to Thomas Harker personally, not to the LLC. Claire signed for it. She set it on the counter. Thomas took it without comment that evening and brought it into his home office. He was in there for 2 hours. When he came out, he told her it was a routine audit on a commercial line of credit. Claire asked what line of credit. He said it was a $210,000 revolving credit facility he had opened in 2007 to cover materials on a large residential development in Bolingbrook. He said it was nearly paid down. He used the phrase, nearly paid down. Claire did not ask for a number. Thomas poured 2 fingers of bourbon, turned on the Bears game, and sat in the same chair he always sat in. The certified letter never reappeared on the counter. Between January and April 2010, Thomas Harker made 4 cash withdrawals from the joint savings account. Each one was under $9,000. $8,400, $7,900, $87 and $50, $8,200. The total across those 4 transactions was $33,250. Federal structuring threshold is $10,000. Every single withdrawal came in beneath it. Claire saw the account balance drop, but Thomas told her the boiler on the Bolingbrook site had failed and materials costs had spiked. He showed her a single invoice on his phone screen. She did not write down the vendor name. By April, the savings account held $11,400, down from $44,650 in January. Thomas told her it would recover by summer once the Bolingbrook draw came through. He used the word draw as though it were a date on a calendar. Claire circled nothing in red that month. On June 14, 2010, a Monday, Thomas Harker drove his 2008 Ford F-150 to a Lake Michigan access point north of the city. The truck was found by county sheriff's deputies at 11:22 a.m. that same day. The driver's side door was open. His wallet was on the seat. His phone was on the seat. His work boots, size 11 Wolverine steel toes he had owned for 4 years, were placed side by side on the gravel beside the driver's door, laces tucked. There was no body. The Coast Guard searched for 9 days. At the end of 9 days, they filed a report. Presumed drowning, no recovery. Thomas Harker was 41 years old. The case file was 23 pages long. Claire identified the boots. 14 days after the truck was found, the bank's attorney contacted Claire Harker. He had been retained not by Claire, but by Lakeshore Savings. He delivered the following in a 2-page summary document. Harker Build Group carried $387,000 in outstanding commercial debt across 3 lenders. A personal guarantee signed by Thomas in 2008 attached $214,000 of that debt directly to him, which under state law meant directly to his estate. The joint home in their suburb carried a second mortgage. Thomas had opened in September 2009. Claire had not signed it, which meant it had been opened fraudulently using a forged spousal consent form. The second mortgage balance was $68,000. The bank's attorney set the two-page summary on the table and folded his hands. He said nothing further. Claire read the document twice before she spoke. State law requires a 7-year waiting period before a person presumed dead without a body can be declared legally deceased. Claire's attorney filed the declaration petition in June 2015, 5 years after the disappearance, based on an amended timeline argument. The petition was denied. She refiled in August 2017 on the full 7-year standard. In the interim, Lakeshore Savings had already charged off the $214,000 personal guarantee debt in 2013 and sold it to a collection subsidiary. That subsidiary sent a demand letter to the family's address in February 2014. Evan, then 22, received it. He put it in a shoebox. He did not tell his mother. Claire found the shoebox in March 2016 while clearing Evan's old room for a tenant. The letter inside was dated February 6, 2014. The demand figure at that point with accrued interest was $241,380. Here is what the system had produced by 2016, 6 years in. Claire Harker had spent $1,800 in attorney fees navigating a probate process for a man whose body did not exist. The house had been refinanced once at a higher rate because the fraudulent second mortgage damaged the title chain. That refinance cost her $6,200 in fees and added 0.7% to her rate. Evan held a $241,180 demand letter he had carried for 2 years. Petra, now 19, was at DePaul on a partial scholarship, partially funded by a life insurance policy Claire filed on Thomas in 2011. A $300,000 term policy, payout delayed 4 years pending legal death declaration. The insurer paid out in 2015 after the petition was settled, and the Bolingbrook development Thomas had cited as the reason for every financial decision. It never broke ground. The permit was filed in 2007, withdrawn in 2008. Thomas had known. What Claire did not know in 2016 was that Thomas Harker had been living in a desert city out west under the name Dale Morse since August 2010. He had used a stolen Social Security number belonging to a Dale Morse of Peoria, Illinois, who had died in 1987 at age 3. The name had been sourced, according to later federal court records, through a private document vendor operating out of a Phoenix P.O. box. Thomas had worked as a finish carpenter for a residential builder in Maricopa County from 2011 to 2014, paid in cash. In 2014, he married a woman named the Woman in a Ceremony at a botanical garden out west. The woman was 39. She worked as a dental hygienist. She believed his name was Dale Morse. She believed he was a widower from Chicago. He had told her his first wife had drowned. Evan Harker announced his engagement in December 2016. The wedding was set for October 7, 2017, at the Clarendon, a venue west of the city. Evan had 214 guests on the list. He had not invited his father. His father was legally dead. What Evan had done, and what he would not tell Claire until 3 years later, was post the wedding invitation publicly through a Facebook account he had kept under his own name since 2011. That account was publicly searchable. The post included the venue name, the date, and a photograph of Evan and his fiancée. Thomas Harker, operating as Dale Morse, had maintained a secondary email address that ran periodic vanity searches on his own birth name through a Google alert he had set up in 2012. On December 29, 2016, that alert fired. The email arrived at 9:14 a.m. Thomas opened it. Thomas Harker drove from out west to the venue in a rented Chevrolet Malibu. He arrived on October 7, 2017. He parked 4 blocks from the Clarendon. He had no invitation. He wore a gray suit Claire had never seen. He had grown a beard. According to the statement he later gave to the state's attorney's office, his stated intention was to observe from a distance, to see his son get married without being seen. He walked within 20 feet of the venue entrance at 6:31 p.m. He stood at the corner outside for 11 minutes. At 6:42 p.m., he walked through the front door of the reception hall. He was identified by Claire's sister, Patricia Wend, who had known Thomas for 16 years. Patricia said one word. Claire turned. The DJ was mid-track, a 2017 Bruno Mars song, the kind of song that fills a floor. 211 people were in the room. Thomas Harker walked 11 steps inside before anyone besides Patricia had processed what they were seeing. Evan was at the bar with his new wife. He turned when Patricia made the sound she made. He looked at his father for 4 seconds without moving. Then he set his glass down. The glass did not break. It made a small, clean sound on the bar top, and then the room was very quiet, and the DJ's track kept playing for 7 more seconds before the DJ noticed the silence and cut the music. Thomas stood in the center of the room holding a white carnation boutonniere that had come loose from his lapel. He held it in his left hand. That was the answer to the question from the beginning. Evan Harker called 911 at 6:53 p.m. 2 police units arrived at 7:08 p.m. Thomas did not leave the building. He sat in a chair by the venue coat room and waited. The first officer identified him from a driver's license in the name of Dale Morse, Arizona license, issued 2013. A records check on the Morse SSN returned a flag within 4 minutes. The Social Security number belonged to a deceased minor, cross-referenced in the SSA Deathmaster file. Thomas was detained at 7:19 p.m. The county state's attorney's office filed charges 11 days later. Identity fraud, financial institution fraud, insurance fraud relating to the $300,000 life insurance payout, and 1 count of bigamy because his legal marriage to Claire Harker had never been dissolved. The woman out west received a phone call from a federal investigator on October 19, 2017. The federal case was filed in the Northern District of Illinois in March 2018. The indictment was 41 pages. The financial summary on page 7 listed total fraud exposure at $583,000, the $300,000 insurance payout, the $214,000 personal guarantee debt that had been charged off by the bank and absorbed as a loss, and $69,000 in additional creditor losses across 3 subcontractors Thomas had invoiced and never paid before the disappearance. Thomas Harker pleaded guilty on November 14, 2018. He received 63 months in federal prison under federal sentencing guidelines, plus 3 years supervised release and a restitution order of $214,000 payable to Lakeshore Savings' successor institution. The $300,000 life insurance payout was clawed back through a separate civil action filed in December 2018. Claire Harker's attorney filed a response to the clawback notice on January 9, 2019. That proceeding was still active as of the last known filing. The clawback proceeding meant the $300,000 insurance payout Claire received in 2015 was now a personal liability while her ex-husband served his sentence. The system paid her. The system was asking for it back. The woman filed for annulment out west in November 2017. It was granted in 14 days. Claire's divorce from Thomas was finalized in March 2019, 9 years after his staged disappearance, 41 months after the same court had declared her a widow. Evan and his wife did not hold a second reception. The photographs from October 7, 2017 exist. Nobody has said publicly what was done with them. One system missed the forged spousal consent on the second mortgage in 2009. That same system paid out $300,000, then reclaimed it from the woman who spent it in good faith across 7 years. If the insurer's fraud detection had flagged the stage drowning in 2010 instead of paying out in 2015, does Claire Harker owe them a single dollar?